Welcome back to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic. In today's video, we are going to add the first set of cards to our Momir Vig Cube. What's up, MTG That is the MTG Burgeoning community. Today is the day. We are beginning the endeavor right here, right now. The first set of cards to include into our 1500 card Momir Vig Cube. If you happened to miss MTG Burgeoning's introduction to the Momir Vig variant and exactly how we're going to build this 1500 card cube, you can click a link in the description below and review that video. So here we go. The first 20 cards in the cube are all mana value 1. And the very first card we are adding is Seed of Life's Bounty. 1 white, but it doesn't matter it's not so much the color, it's the mana you spend on it. This is just 1. So we got a 1/1 enchantment creature. This has lifelink, which is great. More importantly, we can sacrifice this creature to give target creature we control protection from a color of our choice until end of turn. Again, there are no enchantments. There may be enchantment creatures, but there will not be any enchantments. So for the purposes of our cube, Seed of Life's Bounty is only ever going to target another creature. And this is going to present a lot of potential combat shenanigans, giving creatures that we control that might be blocking protection, or sending our creatures into combat and giving them protection from a particular color so we can take down the life total of our opponents. Creature 1 is Seed of Life's Bounty. Creature number 2, again, 20 creatures with a mana value of 1. That's going to kick things off for our Momir Cube. Number 2, Arcbound Worker. Artifact creature. It's got modular, so when it ETBs, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And whenever it dies, we put a +1/+1 counter on another target artifact creature. Yes, there are going to be a number of modular cards in the cube, and Arcbound Worker is going to be one of them. And hopefully, if and when Arcbound Worker dies, you have another artifact creature to put that +1/+1 counter on. Okay, creature number 3, we have Artificer's Assistance. We got a 1/1 flying bird, and that whenever we cast a historic spell, we get to scry 1. So for the purposes of our Momir variant, that is a relatively underpowered ability. However, please keeping in mind, there are 11 different versions of basic lands that we can include in our 60 card deck. And casting a historic spell could be a legendary, could be an artifact. There are many of those that we're going to see throughout the cube. So Artificer's Assistant, when in play, it has the evasion, of course, for those early points of damage, and can be the ultimate chump blocker. However, as we scry 1, we could scry to the important lands that we may need to activate abilities of creatures that we control. Everything that we said about Artificer's Assistant, particularly with respect to the value and importance of the basic lands in the deck, we come to number 4, Ascendant Spirit. We have a 1/1 spirit, and you see all of those different snow land abilities. Yes, there are numerous snow creatures that are going to be in this cube. So if you're sitting down to play some Momir here with MTG Burgeoning, you better bring some snow lands, baby. 2 snow lands, and Ascendant Spirit becomes a spirit warrior with base power and toughness 2/3. Triple snowlands, if Ascendant Spirit is a warrior, we put a flying counter on it and it becomes a Spirit Warrior Angel with base power and toughness 4/4. If you are fortunate enough to quadruple snow activate Ascendant Spirit, then we put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, and it gains, when this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Ascendant Spirit is definitely one of the most valuable 1 mana value creatures we can cast. You just better make sure you got that snow mana, baby. All right, number 5, and another artifact creature. This is Augmenting Automaton. Ether Revolt Construct. It's 1/1 for 1. Of course, everything in this video is going to be for 1. We can tap 1 and a black, and Augmenting Automaton gets +1/+1 until end of turn. If you thought that just having snowlands was going to be important, you would be mistaken, because there are numerous creatures in this cube that are going to rely on specific colored mana to activate their abilities. Nobody wants to sit down to this Momir Cube with just swamps and islands. You better bring all 5 colors in a mixture of all basic land types, or you are going to be the odd person out. That is mana value creature number 5. Number 6, we are going to War of the Spark, Banehound, a 1/1 with lifelink and haste. If you are fortunate enough to be on the play, and this is your turn 1 cast, very good. You're going to swing the board a couple of times in your favor before your opponents are able to catch up. All right, number 7, and there's going to be a little bit of backstory to this creature spell, so let's introduce it first, and then you can blast me in the comments for it later. Blister Coil Weird is an Izzet hybrid mana creature for 1/1 that reads, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Blister Coil Weird gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and we can untap it. There are no instants or sorceries in this Momir Cube. 1,500 creatures, all independent of each other, and no duplicates. So why is Blister Coil Weird in this cube if there are no instant and sorcery synergies with it? Well, it came down to numbers. We needed to add 25 multicolored 1 mana value creatures, and there are exactly, at this point in time, 25 multicolored 1 mana creatures. So when Magic decides to create more of these hybridized mana value 1 creatures, Blister Coil Weird will most likely be packing its bags and heading right out of the cube. For all intents and purposes, for the flavor and the functionality of this deck, this Weird is here to stay until it can be replaced. All right, number 8, we have Momir Courier, going back to Kaladesh. A 1/1 haster that when it attacks, we can exile the top card of our library face down. There's that red mana symbol. Again, that's going to be a trend we see throughout these Momir Vig videos. You want to make sure you have the colored mana necessary to activate an array of different creature abilities. When we tap a red and discard our hand, we sacrifice Momir Courier and put all cards exiled with it into their owner's hands. So, for the purposes of this Momir variant, we are going to exile a top card of our library face down, which is going to be a land every single time whenever Momir Courier attacks. As our hand shrinks, because each time we cast a creature spell, we must discard one of our lands into the graveyard, the more and more lands that we can put into exile with Momir Courier, we get closer and closer to having 1 or no cards in our hand. We hit the red mana, we discard our hand, which is 1 or maybe no cards. We sacrifice Momir Courier, and we refill our hand with lands ready to cast more spells from our Momir Vig Visionary Avatar. Momir Courier is creature number 8. Number 9, we have a Boros hybrid creature. We got a 1/1 first striker. Look at that Goblin Soldier. That Goblin Soldier is ready to be recruited by your Momir Vig Visionary Avatar. 1/1 first strike is very advantageous, as we can see so many other creatures beginning with 1/1. All right, we're at the halfway point here. Creature number 10 with a mana value of 1 is Brass Gnat. 1/1 artifact creature. It flies, but it doesn't untap during your untap step. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 1, and if you do, you can untap Brass Gnat. You're also going to see a trend with some of the creatures in this deck for some of the creatures in this cube that, well, not all of them are helpful. Not to say that Brass Gnat does not have its advantages. However, having to invest a mana just to untap it, well, it's still a flying creature, so the evasion could still be important as we whittle our opponent's life totals down from 24. All right, the first 10 are in the books. Here come the next 10. Staying with our artifact creatures, entrant number 11 is Brass Man. We got a 1/3 that does not untap as normal. You must pay 1 during your upkeep phase to untap it. So Brass Man is very similar to the Brass Gnat, except it doesn't fly and it has a toughness of 3 rather than 1 that we saw in the previous creature. Brass Gnat, it may be worth it to pay that 1. That's a pretty big bottom for someone that can attack on turn number 2. All right, creature number 12, we have Burrington Forge Tender. Look at that, protection from red. That's going to be another feature ripe within this cube. We're going to make sure that the creatures that are added to this deck are not ones to just stand back and not facilitate combat. One of the, one of the drawbacks of playing Momir Vig is so often the games can come down to stalemates. Players don't want to attack other players because the creatures will just be lost in combat, so they're just trying to become the first to cast the biggest, baddest creature to win the game. However, with having creatures with protection, that kind of helps to speed up combat, get the life totals ticking down to 0 more quickly, and helps to facilitate a more interactive gameplay. And we can also sacrifice Burrington Forge Tender to prevent all damage a red source of our choice would deal this turn. So getting the Burrington Forge Tender into play, if you're staring at a battlefield where a couple of opponents have cast some red creatures on turn 1, you're in the advantage. All right, here we go. Caller of Gales is our next creature. It's a 1/1 merfolk. Tap 1 and a blue. There's that activated ability again. Turn Caller of Gales sideways, and target creature gains flying until end of turn. More likely than not, you'll probably want to target one of your own creatures with that ability. However, as we are trying to build this Momir Cube to be a multiplayer style of gameplay variant, maybe it's one of your opponent's creatures. All right, next up, creature number 14 in this first installment, Carrion Feeder. 1/1, can't block, but that's not the best part of Carrion Feeder. We can sacrifice a creature to put a +1/+1 counter on him. So he's the ultimate, just sit back, let him get bigger, sacrifice some creatures, make him so big that when you start swinging into your opponents, they either have to block or they end up losing the game. Carrion Feeder would be a great turn 1 play in this Momir Vig Cube. All right, creature number 15 is Sen's Tactician. 1/1, there's that colored mana symbol for a creature activation cost again. Tap a white, tap Sen's Tactician, and put a +1/+1 counter on target soldier creature. Yes, Sen's Tactician is a Kithkin soldier. And that's another feature we're going to see throughout the Momir Vig Cube. There's going to be a lot of creature type synergies. Lastly, with respect to Sen's Tactician, each creature we control with a +1/+1 counter on it can block an additional creature. So that's going to be very important for a game variant where combat is paramount. Sen's Tactician is number 15 of this first installment of the Momir Vig Cube. We're down to 5, the last 5 of this video. Number 16, we're going back to the time of Apocalypse. Seda Disciple. 1/1 with 2 different activated abilities with 2 different colored mana. Red, and tap this creature, and target creature gets +2/+0 till end of turn. Tap a green and tap the Seda Disciple and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So a little mana fixing if you need some mana to activate the ability of one of your other creatures, or a little aggro ability to give one of your creatures +2/+0 until end of turn. Seda Disciple says, make sure you play all of the colors. Next creature to include is the Changeling Outcast. It can't block, it can't be blocked, and it's every creature all the time. So this is definitely going to synergize with any of the creatures that bring those tribal synergies. Changeling Outcast is creature number 17 in this first installment. Number 18, going back to the times of Mercadian Masks, we are going to play with a copy of Cho-Arim Alchemist. Get a 1/1 creature that reads, tap 1 and 2 white, Tap this creature, discard a card from your hand, and the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage and gain that much life instead. So as long as you can pay that double white and you got a card in your hand, you are going to reverse damage and effect from one of those creatures that's going to come unblocked in combat. Choa Ream Alchemist could be one of the best creatures to summon early in a Momir Vig game. 2 creatures left for this installment. Number 19, we're going back with another artifact creature, and this time it's Chronometon. 1/1, tap 1, tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on Chronometon. So just keep one of those lands aside, keep pumping up this artifact creature, make this golem bigger and bigger as long as you keep one of those lands to the side until you can swing in and wipe out one of your opponents. Number 19 is Chronometon. And that brings us to creature number 20, the first installment of our Momir Vig Cube, and the last of this video. We're going to Gate Crash, and we're going to put in a copy of Cloudfin Raptor, a 0/1 flyer that, let's be honest, for the purposes of what this cube is going to be, having the evolve mechanic may be one of the most valuable mechanics in the entire cube. For anyone who's unfamiliar with what evolve does, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Cloudfin Raptor. So it comes down as an 0/1. So if you're casting a creature spell every single turn, 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana, it seems very likely that Cloudfin Raptor is going to exponentially grow as your battlefield continues to become inundated with so many nice other creatures. Cloudfin Raptor, you are creature number 20. And there we go, MTGBC. We have begun the Momir Vig Cube. We got 20 cards in, 1,480 to go. Let me know your initial thoughts of these first 20 cards in the comment section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.